This is John Ward, welcoming you to another presentation of Tennessee football on home video. The story you're about to see unfold is one of adventure and achievement. It's the story of teamwork, commitment, and the will to win.
Doesn't need a lot of... Oh! He took a weapon!
Welcome back to the Blue Chip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull, and that is your other host, P. And today we're going to be breaking down the matchup between the Volunteers and the South Carolina Gamecocks coming up on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. So the first thing that we wanted to do, just to get out of the way really, really quickly, I want for every single Volunteer fan to know, if you're going up to this game, don't go as a spectator. Don't go up there just to watch. You got to go up there and understand that you have business. You got to take care of business. You're going up there to, number one, make sure that you get every other Tennessee fan that's going to be inside of that stadium. You got to get them riled up big time, right? So that's number one. Number two, we have to make sure that, if you're on, like the ball walk, anything like that, hey, reach out and touch somebody, okay? Talk to coaches, talk to these players, and let them know, hey, thank you, number one, for what you're doing, and just boost them up. Hey, whoever, hey, Joe, you've been looking great all season. You're going to go out and show out. We need a whole lot of that, okay, because this matchup really is going to be really tough for these Tennessee Volunteers. And the first thing that we want to get into is South Carolina's offense versus Tennessee's defense. Number one thing that I'm going to say before I get into all the stats and all that stuff is, listen, Spencer Rattler, and as far as I've seen watching film, he is the best player, I would say, in this entire country. He's the best quarterback in this entire country. I haven't seen one better. He's been playing incredible. So defense, that's the biggest deal, right? And also, after this, we're going to be getting into, we're going to have a poll. We're going to have some live trivia for everybody. And then we're also going to get into our conference picks for this weekend. And then, obviously we'll get into our pick for this game tonight. So with all that being said, man, South Carolina's offense, they are averaging 28.8 points per game, which is 71st in this country. But whenever you look at their schedule, they played a pretty good, schedule, especially compared to what we've done. They played against the Tar Heels to start it off. Who else did they play? They played.
I think it was Furman.
Okay,
Furman, Mississippi State. Georgia, Mississippi State.
Okay. Yeah, so they played against some good teams. All right, so take their points per game with a grain of salt. If you have not watched film on them, they've played well. They all have not played great, but Spencer Rattler is balling out. Number 17, he is a baller too. So, yeah, he's an absolute dog. So they are averaging 340 passing yards per game at 73.4% completion rate, which is crazy. That's really, really good, especially when they're talking about who they've played up. Who the types of teams that they've played against. They're also averaging 2.3 touchdowns through the air. So, I mean, they can definitely sling it. Everybody knows that. Offensive line has had some issues, but we're just going to keep on going through these stats. They're averaging 75.8 yards rushing, which is 2.3 yards per carry and 1.8 touchdowns per game. And, obviously that's pretty bad. I can tell you right now, in that Georgia game, they only ran the ball. I don't know what the exact numbers is, but it was like under, I think, like 10 times. Like they only ran the ball like 6 or 7 times. I'm sorry, it was 16 times. 8 of those times was Spencer Rattler. So, I mean, that should tell you all that you need to know. So on the flip side, right, Tennessee's defense is only giving up 190.8 yards per game passing, giving up 17.2 points per game, which is 29th in the country. Again, we haven't really played anybody. Some people want to bring up Florida. Florida sucks. Okay, Florida is not a good offense. They're not a good team, period. And we're giving up 68.5% through the air and 1 touchdown per game through the air. Also, rushing wise, we're giving up 113 yards per game, 2.8 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown per game. Paris, what do you see in this matchup against South Carolina?
Man, I think those stats, they paint a little bit of the picture. I think it's a team that can move the ball on anybody. We saw it against Georgia. They came out first half, slinging it around, kind of had those guys on the rope, in the first half of that game. I think Spencer Rattler is what makes those guys go, man. He's playing out of his mind right now. I mean, seems like every time I turn him on, he's 12 for 12. He's 15-15. Like, he rarely ever misses, seems like, this year. And I think that's going to be a key for us this game is, when we look at the stats at the end of the game, what's his completion percentage? I mean, is it up there, 70, 80%, or is it down there in the 60, 50 range? I think that's going to be kind of, to quote Josh Pate on 247 Sports, that's going to be a padlock stat. I think his completion percentage is something to really keep an eye on early. But, not a ton of weapons, in my opinion. One of the best receivers is out, got hurt in the Georgia game, forget his name, but number 3. They do have Big Leggett, number 17, or Leggett, however you say his name. I don't know how big he is. He looks like he's about 6'3", 230, and runs a 4.2. I mean, he's a dog, man. He's the real deal. He's similar to like a Cedric Tillman, kind of just like a big bodied guy, but can also run, can make it happen after the catch. He's going to be a matchup problem for us. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we have Kamal Hatton follow him around, just because he's, in my opinion, their only real threat through the air. Now, Rattler, he'll get to wherever he needs to, but I think he's the main guy we got to lock up, because even if you have good position on him, he'll still go up and make a play just with his big body, his athleticism. So got to watch out for him. But, their O-line, pretty porous, haven't ran the ball well this year. But, I don't know. I just feel like these guys, they tend to play better when they play us. I feel like we heard the same thing last season. Our O-line was kind of weak coming into it. But, we had a hard time still kind of getting to the passers. So, and then, too, like with the way they play, Rattler, he's back there, he'll snap the ball. People are coming at him, and he just finds a way to get rid of the ball quick, or he can scramble out and, extend plays and make plays with his arms that way. So it's amazing what he's doing, even without the, the O-line protection. He's still finding ways to get it done. So I don't know how big of a factor that's going to be, but, we're going to have to find ways to get exotic, like you said, and get after the passer, confuse them early on. And just find a way to get him uncomfortable all game long, man. And like you said to start the show, Nealon needs to be rocking. We're a different team at home. Make no mistake about it. We're a different team at home. So let's use the home field to our advantage for a change, and let's make it hard for these guys to communicate. I want to see some pre-snap penalties from those guys, and us really kind of controlling the game and getting them kind of out of their comfort zone and playing from behind early in that game.
Absolutely. Yeah. So those are all very, very excellent points. Obviously we've heard throughout this entire week, we have to, keep Rattler inside of the pocket, right? So passing lanes, that's a really big deal. I think that Tyler Barron needs to start over Roman. And, I think that we keep James Pierce on the other end. We've got to and I'm saying that because Tyler Barron has been the most consistent, at maintaining leverage, right? So we do have to keep Spencer Rattler inside of that pocket. We cannot let him scramble outside and just make plays all day, because he's accurate inside of the pocket. And he's accurate, once he escapes outside of it. Something else, too, that I definitely noticed just in watching film is that he will step up into that pocket. And if those tackles are not maintaining pass rush lanes, he will find a nice little crease and he can extend plays that way. He can also gain yards that way. So as much as this game is, on our ends, our tackles are going to have to be very, very, they're going to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Don't try to be Superman. Don't try to be a hero. Stay inside of that lane, and once you see him, disengage, and try to get a hand on him early. So all that being said, too, I think that this game puts a lot of stress on our linebackers. It seems like most of their passes go to the middle of the field. That's something that we, kind of pinpointed up against Florida. And we haven't been great in pass coverage there. Obviously we've got Beasley, who plays, he plays well. But Herring doesn't play great. I think that Arion Carter is better in coverage there, but also he's not great. He's still new. He's still learning. Those guys are gonna have to step up big time. Mm-hmm. But I think that Tim Banks is gonna have to draw up a lot of different blitzes. He's gonna have to give a whole lot of different looks. And we saw just from watching film that their offensive line and Spencer Rattler, they can both kind of get thrown off if they don't know where pressure is coming from. They don't know which coverage you're in. So we can't just show it, right? We have to disguise it as much as possible. So I wanted to show y'all this clip of a play that Mississippi State did last week that gave South Carolina some trouble. Let's go and take a look at that real quick. All right, so these are types of blitzes that we want to see Tim Banks bring on Saturday. Cornerback is coming off the edge. 2 middle linebackers are coming right up the middle. Nobody else comes. This end right here is a man on this tight end. This end right here fakes rush, ends up picking up this running back in man coverage. 2 defensive tackles right here, fake a rush, drop into a zone. Fake a rush, drop into a zone. And all of the secondary is manned up over the top. As you can see, it's 3rd and 5. Just looking out for anything deep and anything that comes across the middle of this field. Most important thing here, though, is watch this as this play comes through. The offensive line has no idea who to pick up. Obviously, Spencer Rattler has no idea who's coming from where, and that's an easy sack. I think that we can do this all day long on Saturday, and Tim Banks is going to have to draw up a ton of different exotic looks, even if he's not bringing pressure on this one. As you can see, they only brought 3 rushers, and they were still able to get home. All right, so Pete, what do you think whenever you see that? Do you think that that's something that this defense is capable of doing? Do you think we've got the proper pieces in place to be able to execute those types of plays?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be key to this game, man. We cannot show what we're doing. I think you look at the film from last season. It was a lot of us we're just showing our hand early. We're in soft cover 3, we're in man, whatever it is, we're showing it early. I think Spencer Rattler is too smart for that. And so disguising it any way you can, whether it's, acting like you're blitzing and then dropping off, whatever you got to do, we need to disguise, bring the safeties, run some stunts, anything you can do to throw him off his rhythm, because he's a very analytical guy pre-snap. He's looking at it pre-snap, getting a feel for what you're doing. And he's a guy, in my opinion, I think he's looking at the small things. So, he'll be able to tell if you're creeping up, or he'll be able to tell if we got 2 guys over here covering 1 guy. He knows one of those guys is blitzing. Like those little types of things, for a guy like Spencer Rattler, you've got to be able to kind of, find a way to disguise that. And I think that the personnel had the pieces to be able to do that. It's just going to come down to Tim Banks dialing it up, and those guys going out there and executing it. Absolutely. So I'm thinking,
just with how, so if you look at what they've done over the past few weeks, we talked about it earlier, up against Georgia, I think that it was under 20 rushing carries, right? And 8 of those was Spencer Rattler. So I think that whenever you look at, they ran the ball a lot more up against Mississippi State. I think that they're trying to more or less force that running game. This game, especially with them, coming into Neyland, night game, they understand that our entire fan base and players too who played on that team last year, we want to not only win this game, but we want to dominate. So I feel like they're going to want to try to take the crowd out of the game early, and that's going to come with a whole lot of running, probably not going to be a whole lot of passing. So as much as we're talking about passing game, I think that what we really need to be watching out for is them trying to run the ball on us. Now they've got 7 offensive linemen out. I'm not too concerned with them finding those rushing lanes, but again, more linebackers are not great. We've got 1 good linebacker. Outside of that, I would call everybody else pretty much subpar. So so I would just say that the safeties are going to have to kind of creep up, but at the same time, that's when they can get you on that, fake the run, throw it right over somebody's head. So that's why, to me, I feel like this matchup it's kind of scary for us, man.
Yeah, it's definitely scary, man. It's just I heard somebody talking about it the other day. You think about third and long, or as they call it, third and Vols. It just seems like for the past 7 or 8 years, teams just have so much success on those third down type of plays, or those plays where they can just scramble and just create, just create this kind of backyard plays. We seem to get those up more than any team in the whole world. And Spencer Rattler is kind of the king of doing that this season. And so that scares me to death. You think about guys like Elijah Herring. I mean, he's gonna have to step up and play. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna need him to contribute to be able to cover, to cover the middle of the field, to be able to stay off a line, to stay off a tight end, to pick up a running back out of the backfield, to pick up Spencer Rattler if he scrambles. Like, we're gonna need him to step up. All these guys, Tech McCullough, you're gonna have to play. DBs, you're gonna have to be ready to make a play on the ball. It's not good enough to be in good position. You gotta make a play on the ball. It's just all those little things that I feel like a lot of teams take for granted. We've got to execute at a high level this week, because it's been tearing us up, and I can definitely see it being one of those types of games for us on Friday. I mean, I went on Twitter the other day and I said, I think we got to score 40 points to win this game. I mean,
yeah,
it's going to be tough for us to stop them just based on what we've seen. We're going to have to play above our heads, at least better than what we've seen us play all season.
Yeah, I think that South Carolina is a much better. Well, maybe not much better, but I think that they're a touchdown better than what Florida is. I don't think Florida is a very good team, and I think the South Carolina matches up a lot better against us than Florida did. Again, middle of our field is what teams are going to be picking on. We saw Florida do that, and back to that Florida game. And, I hate to bring this back up, but this is something that's been pretty consistent throughout this entire season. We absolutely have got to come up and tackle. We've got to get off blocks, and we've got to keep our face up and block. Just those little small things. Yeah. I think we can do those little things right then. We can come out and we can have a very successful day, especially at home, at night, blackout game. I mean, we should to, maybe not completely totally dominate. I'll be honest with y'all, man. I don't see us completely totally dominating, but I think that we can win. And that's just me. I think that we can win. Go ahead.
So let me ask this. So if you're Tim Banks, I know we kind of talked about it. So you're more so saying that you would rather bring pressure, or would you rather maybe starting out kind of see if we can get to him with 4 and maybe dropping everybody else, or are you coming out the gate, coming right after him?
So I would mix it up. I would show pressure all the time. I would have people moving around all the time. I think I'm trying to think back to who it was. This was maybe 10, 15 years ago ish. I want to say it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. They would bring everybody up to the line of scrimmage, and you didn't know who was coming, who wasn't. It would be very similar game plan to what they did there, right?
Yeah.
Just to throw them off. And you don't necessarily have to bring them like that clip that we showed earlier, where we didn't bring it, or where Mississippi State didn't bring really anybody. They brought 3 people. But, you didn't know where that was coming from. They showed it was like 5 or 6 people coming. I think we have to do that on a very consistent basis and just keep them guessing. If we can do that, and if we can corral them in that running game, we will be very successful against this offense. But Tim Banks has got to stop playing so conservative. I don't understand why he's been doing that for the past, pretty much for this entire season.
Yeah, he's been super conservative. I'll
dial it up, dude.
Yeah, like they dial it up. I mean, press man and blitz the house. But I tell you what scares me to death. Heck, we got Kamal Hadden, who's been playing great this year. Yeah, I think this is the game where he's going to really try to show up just because of how last season went. But man, who's the other freaking corner? Who's the other freaking corner? That's what scares me to death. Is we're gonna have one side of the field.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're gonna have at least one side of the field that's gonna be super weak, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I don't know if Slaughter's coming back for this game, but hopefully he does, because
hopefully.
You are exactly right. We need everybody from that secondary. Obviously, they can throw the ball outside of the hashes and all of that good stuff. But for the most part, I think that those safeties and those backers are going to really have to step it up. But yeah, so without Slaughter, what you're looking at, Gabe Judy-Lally, who I'm not huge on unless he's going to be a squat corner. Whenever you play him in cover 2, he plays really, really well. And actually, we've seen just from watching film, cover 2 seems to kind of beat this offense. I think we could have did that, up against Florida. A lot of times, man, whenever teams like to run those deep crossers and, a bunch of stuff that's more in the middle of that field and, dump it out to the flats and stuff, cover 2 can beat it. But you do have to be careful, obviously. But I think that we're good on our back end because we've got Wesley Walker, who's, he's a wily old vet, and so is Tank. Those are 2 guys that will be able to pick up if they want to, run post or, corner routes, which is the weak spots in those cover 2, in those cover 2s. I think that they can do a good job there. So, I'd like to see us run more of that. I've never seen us run like a max zone, but almost every team that they've played against this season, I've seen a mix of cover 3, barely any cover 2, and some sort of a match zone, match man, something like that. Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna have to be very versatile. We're gonna have to switch stuff up, dude. I mean, I'm sick of seeing the same old stuff.
Yeah, me too, man. It's like it's either cover 3 or it's freaking man. I mean, or like you said, some type of match. Like, switch it up, man. Just switch it up. Hopefully, Tim Banks will have it dialed up this week, man. I feel like we're due for a big game. I feel like this is gonna be our coming out party. But we'll see. We gotta get to Saturday, and we gotta go out there and prove it on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all that being said, we're gonna switch it. We're gonna switch it to our offense versus South Carolina's defense and see what that matchup looks like. So Tennessee's offense is averaging 35 points per game, which is 37th in the country. We are passing 234 yards per game at 61.7% with 2 touchdowns per. Rushing at 229.5 yards per game, 6.2 yards per carry at 2.5 touchdowns per game. And South Carolina's defense is giving up 317 yards per game, 67.3%, 1.3 touchdowns. They're giving up 117.5 yards on the ground per game at 3.4 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns, and 26.5 points per game, which is 84th in this country. So whenever you look at it from that perspective, you would think, right? I mean, you would think, okay, Tennessee's got a big edge on the offensive side of the football. But like we said earlier, you got to take a look at who they've played and who we've played. I don't think that they've played an outstanding offense. I mean, you might think differently, P, but for me, Georgia's offense kind of sucks. You know what I mean? They've got great talent. But, we talked about that preseason. Mike Bobo is not a great offensive coordinator. It's easy to stop him because it's easy to tell what he's trying to do. So if you know what someone's trying to do, it's pretty easy to be able to scheme something up to stop it. North Carolina, they've got Drake May, who he's definitely, in my mind, he's the first-round quarterback talent. Outside of that, who else do they have? I don't know.
I don't know. Do they still got Josh Downs? Is he still up there?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm not sure either. Honestly, I've watched North Carolina.
I haven't watched much of them, so it's kind of hard to tell. Mississippi State, their offense is not great either, so they haven't really played up against anybody. What we've seen, though, in watching film is that their secondary is not good. They've got some good athletes up front. For me, watching their, linebacker play is not great. I think that we should be able to have a lot of success against their defense. They play a whole lot of man, and all they do is man, or it's like match zone, match man, something like that, which we eat that up. We ate that up against Bama last season. We had some trouble up against Georgia, but Georgia's pass rush is a lot better than what South Carolina's is. And then, Cooper Mays is supposed to be back. So what do you see there? Yeah, what do you think with Cooper coming back? Do we take Andre out and put in, Ollie Lane right there at left guard? What do you see there?
I don't know. Probably rotate those guys. I think Andre still starts. We'll kind of see how he does, and then probably Ollie Lane will kind of rotate in with him. I think we've been kind of rotating there at the left guard all year. So we'll probably end up rotating somebody in there, or we'll kind of rotate those guys in, but. I think that's probably the biggest matchup for our offense is our O-line versus their D-line. I think if we can create holes in the run game and can run the ball the way we want to, I think we'll obviously be able to control the ball and kind of wear those guys down and have a lot of success. The passing game will open up more. But if we have a hard time creating holes, if we can't give Joe any time for routes to develop down the field, it might be a tough day for us. Because I think, like you said, they're going to play man coverage. They're going to kind of be in our face a little bit, and so I think those deep shots will be there. Will Joe have the time to sit back and to let it develop? And obviously, then can he make the good throw, and then can he make the catch? Something we haven't really done at a high clip this year. But that's, to me, going to be – that's going to tell our offense. Can we block them, and then can we throw and catch? You know what I mean? Because I think the run game will be there. I think the backs will get what they can. Similar to what we saw against Florida, we still went for over 100 yards, but it wasn't explosive. It wasn't big chunk plays like we were seeing in the previous games. I think we need those big chunk plays from the running game, and we're going to have those one-on-one matchups. Brew McCoy is going to be there. Spore White's going to be there. I think Keaton's going to play. He'll probably be there. And, hey, Dante Thorne's going to be there. Can he make the daggum catch is a big thing. But, just to, kind of team with what you said about their personnel, their DBs don't impress you. I think the worst of that group, and I think Trayvon Flowers started this trend, is number one. That number one, he's like a nickel guy. You want to see a guy get beat deep? Go watch this film. You want to see a guy can't cover? Go watch this film. You go watch Mississippi State. That number 5 was lighting those guys up. So he set, I think, a Mississippi State record for receiving yards in the game, and pretty much every catch was on that guy, was on number 1. So look for us to get the matchup we want with him. I think he'll be matched up with Squirrel. Squirrel's had a big day. Look for Squirrel to go for 200+ yards. That type of day. We should have success. Their backers don't impress you. Number 0 looks like a pretty good athlete. He triggers fast sometimes, but he kind of reminds me a little bit of Elijah Herring. He kind of gets out of position a little bit and, isn't great. So we can attack the middle of the field. I feel really good about everything. My only slight concern is their D-line versus our O-line. But we just got to kind of wait and see how it goes when we get there.
And you know what? To all of your points, which all of them were absolutely excellent, I think that in this game, I feel like both coaches are probably really trying to establish that running game early. And we've said this the entire season. Joe Milton, we don't know how well his leg is going to hold up. Obviously you can't really trust anything that Coach Heupel says because he's going to just throw anything out there, right? Don't know how banged up Joe is, but if he can run read option, I would run that 4 or 5 times every single game just to put it out on film.
Right.
It's something that we saw them struggle with, and I would establish that running game from our backs and from Joe early, and then really be able to take those deep shots. But like you said, everybody's gonna get one-on-one matchups. This is a game where I promise you, Coach Heupel is gonna scheme up open people. People will be wide open. We'll see 2 to 3 wide open people for touchdowns. Can Joe hit them, and can they make those catches? You brought up Dante Thornton, hoping that he can kind of get it going. Well, this is his 5th game now in SEC ball. We talked about it early on. It can be different, right? Coming from Maryland, where football is not a really big deal, and then going out to Oregon, where we think nationally that football is big there, but it's a completely different thing coming down to the South, right? So sometimes those bright lights can kind of mess people up. It can just throw you off. I am expecting for him to be much more of a playmaker this game. I'm expecting him to be a lot more comfortable. Now, all that being said, I don't expect for him to get the start. I expect for Squirrel to start there, kind of like you was talking about. But again, it all starts on that offensive line. Can they hold up? Can they run block better? And can they give Joe the proper amount of time to be able to find people, regardless, whether it's deep, whether it's middle passes, it doesn't really matter. They've got to show me something, because that's what's scaring me the most. That's the main reason I don't have a whole lot of confidence right now in this team. Last year, we knew what this offense did. It was 35, 40 points every single game off the top. They've got to build off what they did last week and prove that wasn't some fluke against some scrub team.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we'll see what Cooper Mays being back. We'll see what that does. We'll see if that just kind of fixes a lot of issues. If that gets guys on the same page. If that just helps the tempo be better. If he's really the catalyst, everybody's kind of claiming he's going to be. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping we'll see a huge improvement just because he's in there. But man, you talk about the offense and being able to score points. I was watching that film from last year. I finally got the courage to go back and watch that Carolina game from last season. You talk about Hendon Hooker. I mean, gosh, you talk about just almost a night and day difference just between how he plays and how Joe plays. He just could see the field just so fast. Like he just first guy's not there, he immediately goes to the next guy. Like he was just so quick, he processed it so quick. And I mean, I don't know if it was like that in 2021, his first season starting. But I feel like Joe's been in the system for 3 years now. He's got enough live reps. When's it going to click for him like that, where he can process it? Because I mean, Hendon Hooker, I mean, we knew he was good last season, but he really did elevate this offense. Like he really, really is a special player. He's going to have a great NFL career.
Yeah,
it's time for Joe to come out of his shell and to freaking play. Cut it loose and play. Like Halsey always says, cut it freaking loose. You know what I mean? Cut it loose, right. Let it rip. You got a big arm. Don't freaking pull the string on it. Let it rip. Just go ahead and use that hose, man. Throw it through somebody's chest. Have the touch on the deep ball. And then, hey, like we've been saying all year, if it's not there, run. Go run.
That's it. That's it. And then too, man, this is something that I think it was on the Dave Hooker show that he kind of talked about, and he was saying that he thinks that Joe Milton is trying too much to be a pocket passer. He doesn't want that stereotype on him of, he can't stand inside the pocket and throw it. And, I think that we've kind of talked about that some too. Listen, dude, don't worry about none of that stuff. Right. These days, you don't have to worry about being a pocket passer, none of that. Go out there and win. And that's not just Joe. That's every single person on this team. Go out there and just play backyard football and play to win. Whatever. I don't care if we have to quarterback sneak it, 50 times a game. If we're winning, I don't think anybody cares. Let's just go out there and win, baby. That's it.
Yeah. And I think, those black jerseys are going to help those guys kind of ball a little bit. Not to quote a Georgia guy, but it was a Georgia guy. I forget his name. Kearse Jackson. When we wore those black jerseys last year against Kentucky, they were interviewing him about it. And like you said, man, we looked good in them black jerseys. We're out there flying around. Something about that all black, it just helps you kind of play a little bit harder. I think the crowd's going to be rocking. And I just think, it sets up, like in my mind, there's no way we shouldn't come out here and be ready to freaking go, after what happened last season against these guys. Sell out crowd, sell out night crowd, sell out blackout night crowd. I mean, everything's there. Backs against the wall. We have one loss already. This team should be fully motivated and fully bought in and locked in and ready to go out here and ball. I mean, I'm hoping that we come out and execute at a high level, and this is a game we put up 60 points.
Yeah, man. I would love to be able to really run it up on these guys. So with all that being said, I'm going to put up this poll. And P, I'm going to let you handle this for just a second. So, as y'all know, hold on, let me get us. All right, y'all. I don't know if y'all was able to hear us, but if y'all was able to vote on that poll, we will have the results up at the end of the show. So, man, you know, we're still trying to figure this live thing out. And, it's definitely not as easy as it looks. But I do want to. So, Pete, do you think we should go ahead and get into our conference picks for this week, or should we go to trivia?
Yeah, whatever you want. We can go conference picks or whatever.
All right. So we are going to get into our conference picks for this week, and obviously we will be in those picks as well. So first game is Kentucky versus the Florida Gators at 12 p.m. The game is at Kentucky, and Kentucky is favored by 1 point. Over under is 45.5 points. P, what do you got on this game?
Man, to be honest with you, I haven't watched a ton of Kentucky this season. I know they got the new quarterback from NC State. Are they? They're not undefeated. Who'd they lose to? I think they lost the game already.
I believe that they're undefeated.
Are they? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So undefeated team.
I don't think they lost to nobody.
You know, it's at Kentucky. We already talked about Florida. We don't think they're a very good ball club. And Kentucky seems to kind of have Florida's number. I think even when Florida's having a good year, Kentucky's always a tricky game for them. Man, I kind of want to go Kentucky here, but I'm going to go against my better judgment. I'm going to pick Florida. Pick Florida to win this one. We'll call it 28-31, Florida.
28-31. So you are picking the over. 28-31. You're also picking Florida to cover. So I'm going to go completely against you, man. Florida is not a good team, and their offense sucks. You know, we saw what they did last week up against Charlotte. What they put up 19 points against a terrible Charlotte team.
Yeah, that's
yeah. I think that this is a very low scoring game. I'm going to pick the under on this, and I'm going to pick Kentucky to cover and to win outright. I say Kentucky. I'm going to go 17-10. That is my pick.
Oh, a Big Ten game.
Yes, sir. All right, so next game, we've got Auburn versus Georgia. This is at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The game is at Auburn. Georgia's favored by 14.5 points. Over under is 45.5. What you got?
Man, you know, I hate them dogs. You know, Auburn's got Hugh Freeze. I mean, he's a guy that wants to win. You look at his years at Ole Miss. Hey, Saban was happy to see him go. Saban was happy to see him go. He had Saban's number. And I believe Kirby Smart may have been the OC during that, or may have been the DC during that time. So you guess you could say he has Kirby Smart's number too. You know, it's in Auburn. But, I mean, Auburn has not looked great this season. Hey, but neither has Georgia. But it's tough for me. I think Georgia has a little too much for them. I do think Auburn covers the spread. I think they keep it within 14. But I'm going to go Georgia here. We'll call it, I don't know, maybe 28-14.
28-14. Okay. You know what? I actually kind of like what you just said there. I don't know, man. With this game being in Auburn, you know, I think it makes it very interesting, right? So we've seen Georgia kind of struggle in the first half against teams. And I think that what wore those teams out was just that they didn't have enough depth to be able to sustain a close game up against Georgia. Auburn's got that exact same problem. And, you know, I think that this game stays close in that first half. I think it'll kind of have us all, you know, watching it closely just to see what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, you know, I do think that Georgia's depth is just a little bit too much for Auburn. But I think that Auburn will cover. You know, I think that this is, you know, a lot closer game than what the experts are kind of getting at. I'm going to go, you know, and Georgia's offense is not great. You know, I want to see them scoring a whole bunch of points. I'm going to go 24-17.
Nice.
And, you know, I guess I'll take Georgia. Much as it pains me. All right, so next game is at 4 p.m. It's Vanderbilt versus the Mizzou Tigers. The game is at Vanderbilt, and Mizzou is favored by 13.5 points. Over under is 54.5 points. Pete, what you got in this one?
Man, you know, Mizzou's looking hot right now. They're undefeated. Had a big win against Kansas State. You know, Vandy's they haven't really played anybody all season. They've struggled every game they've played, even the ones they won. I think they beat Hawaii like one score, and then they've lost some close games. I think Kentucky played them last week and put up like 45 on them. I think Mizzou's going to have a little too much for these guys. I think they're going to put up some points. I got Vandy. I got Mizzou in this one. Probably some score last week, 42-21, Mizzou.
Yeah, I think that Vandy is just going to be Vandy, and even though the game is at Vandy, I think that Mizzou is going to be too much for them, and that's another thing that I can't daggone wait to see. I can't wait to see a whole bunch of teams, but we're going to take it one game at a time. I'm going to pick Mizzou to cover over under. I'm going to pick the over on this one. What is 54.5? I mean. I don't know. I mean, I guess Mizzou would have to score a whole bunch of points. Vandy's not going to score much. I'm going to say Vandy might score 14, and I'm going to pick Mizzou to score 40. So I'm going to take the under just by a half a point.
Hey, I think Vandy put up 28 on Kentucky, something like that. Which Kentucky's not, but it was like 20-something to 40-something.
Well, shoot, I might have to. Oh, okay, it was 20-something to 40-something. All right, so with all that being said, I might kind of change it. Let's go 17-42. So I'm going to take over Mizzou. All right, so next game is 6 p.m. LSU versus Ole Miss. The game is at Ole Miss. LSU is favored by 2.5 points. Over under 67.5. P, who you got?
Man, this is it's kind of a must-win game for both teams. LSU already has a loss. They haven't lost in conference yet, but I feel like they want to compete for playoffs. So they're back against the wall, and in Ole Miss, they've already lost to Bama, so they got that one loss. Must win for both teams. It's going to be in the Grove. Lane Kiffin dialing it up. I mean, we'll see. They haven't been a great passing team this year. Can they run the ball on LSU's front? I don't know. I mean, it's tough to put a gauge on these Brian Kelly teams. You never know what they're going to do week to week. I think I'm going to pick the upset here. I think I'm going to go Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels here. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to go Ole Miss 31, LSU 28. It's going to be a close.
Hey, you know what? I think that you are a very intelligent young man. I'm going to go with Ole Miss here too. Ole Miss lost that heartbreaker. I guess it wasn't really a heartbreaker, but I think that they kind of expected to win that game up against Alabama. And you go into every single game expecting to win, but I think that they really thought that they was going to win. So I'm going to pick Ole Miss to upset LSU. And then, I mean, if you watch this channel, I don't believe in Brian Kelly. He's not a very good coach. I think LSU's overrated. I don't think they're a great team. I'm going to pick Ole Miss to win this game. And I say that they win this one by 14 points. So they win it by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go Ole Miss 34, LSU 20.
Oh, nice.
All right. So next one is Alabama versus Mississippi State. This game is at 9 p.m. And the game is at Mississippi State. Alabama is favored by 14.5 points. Over under is 46.5. I don't know if that seems low or if that seems high. But P, who do you got in this game?
Yeah, I definitely got Bama in this one. I think obviously they have that one loss. I mean, typically Nick Saban coach teams, it's very rare to see them lose more than one game in the season. They've already got that one loss out of the way. I think they're starting to play better on defense. It's kind of the defense that we expected to see coming into the season. Kind of saw a little bit of that last week against Ole Miss. I think they're going to roll in this one. They still have issues kind of on the offensive side, but I think that's their identity. They're not going to be slinging it. It's going to be more, QB runs and kind of smash mouth football and playing great defense, just controlling the ball. I got Bama in this one. I think they may hit the over on this one. I think Bama will put up in the 30s. We'll call it 38. I think Mississippi State, I think they might get about 7, maybe 10 points. So we'll call it 38-10. I'm going to go with the over.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I think that this game is going to be a lot closer than the experts think, especially with it being in Mississippi State. I don't know if I could pick Alabama to cover on this one. I think that it's a little bit closer than that, but I do have Alabama winning. So, you know what? Let me see. It's a later start. I think I'll pick I think I'll take the over. I'm gonna go Alabama 31, Mississippi State 24.
Ooh, wow.
All right. So with all that being said, the matchup that everyone came here to see, it is our Tennessee Volunteers at Neyland in a get-back game that we absolutely have to win. This is a must-win game. I don't care what nobody says. Versus the South Carolina Gamecocks at 7:30, right? Blackout game. Pete, have you heard if we're going to do like a checkerboard, black and orange, or is it just going to be straight blackout?
I think it's going to be straight blackout. I know there's been speculation about the checkerboard, but I don't think anything's concrete on that. So,
okay. All right, so Vols are favored by 12 points. Over under 63.5 points. Pete, what is your prediction for our Vols against these South Carolina Chickens?
Man, this is a huge game for us, man. Like you said, this is a must-win game. I think not just for us, but for Coach Heupel. He needs this game, man. It's going to be big for recruiting. This game means the freaking world. Like I said, it's a blackout game, sellout crowd, and this is the team that stopped us from going to the playoffs last season. I think these guys are taking it personal. I know they've been downplaying in the media, but I think they come out fired up. I think we see that defense fly around. We get after Spencer Rattler. He doesn't have time to throw. We're causing havoc back there. I think offensively, we're finally hitting the deep shots. We're more consistent in the passing game. I think we get a good push in the O-line with Cooper Mays being back. I think the Vols click on all cylinders, man. I think we'll come out here. I think we're going to put up 50 on these guys. I'm gonna call it 52-17. I'm taking over 52-17 Vols in the blackout in Neyland.
Absolutely love that. I guess I could probably echo a whole lot of your sentiments. I can see this game going a lot of different ways, but I think that there's two, major playouts in this game. It's either going to be a close game that South Carolina can edge out. I don't see us getting blown out again. I just don't see that. Or I see Tennessee coming out and absolutely dominating. I'm going to roll with Tennessee absolutely dominating. What was your score, P?
52-17.
52-17. That actually sounds really good.
Yep.
I'm going to go 56. I'm going to go 56-14.
Nice.
I just feel like for some reason, y'all, this is not too much based off of X's and O's. This is just a pure gut feeling. I think that everything is going to this weekend. Cooper Mays coming back is going to be huge for this team. And I really sincerely believe that this is going to be the catalyst for this team moving forward throughout the rest of this season. And we're going to go out there and absolutely dominate. And it's going to be a big celebration on Rocky Top. Like I said, Vols fans, make sure that if you are in Knoxville for this game, that you are loud, that you're rowdy, you're not there to spectate. You have a job to do, okay? We've got to be loud. We have to help this team win. And if y'all can do that, if we can do that, then this team will absolutely dominate. So that's it for that. And P, should we go ahead and get into the trivia, or should we save that for Saturday?
Shoot, I don't know. You want to save it for Saturday?
And we can let everybody go ahead and get ready for this Thursday night football game. Hey, and also too, y'all, I know that some of y'all were commenting, and we just, this daggone this live streaming thing, it's been crazy. I don't know what's been going on, but y'all's comments were not popping up like they were supposed to, so everything's kind of coming in late. But we will get back to y'all's comments once everything kind of like uploads on our end. But we appreciate y'all as always for tuning into this channel, and we're gonna get this thing right.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah, I agree, man. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I agree, man. I feel like, there's a lot of analytics going into this. I think if you look at it on paper, you say this game should be closer, a 38 to, 28, 38, 31 type game. But I think, football sometimes it's more than X's and O's. It's more than on paper. It's about emotion. It's about passion. It's about momentum. It's about so much more than just kind of, what you see on paper. And I think that's the reason you see us having so much confidence, because we believe in this team. We believe in this staff. And we think they got a chip on their shoulder. Let's not forget, at the end of the day, this is South Carolina. This is a team that we own, and they're coming to Neyland at night. It's going to be on and popping, baby. Can't wait for it.
You already know. You already know. So with all that being said, man, make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends and family. Hit that notification bell so that you will be updated and so that you will know whenever we're going live again. We're planning on going live again on Saturday pregame, just, for some final thoughts. And on that one, we're just going to focus on everybody who wants to comment, all of y'all's thoughts, concerns. And with all that being said, man, love y'all, man. Go Vols. Thanks. Peace.